This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. And what I'm looking at today is 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by David Blue Garcia. And let's be clear, this is not a great movie, particularly if you look at it from a story perspective, which is to say, you have some internet famous people reinvigorating a ghost town and Leatherface turns up. That's essentially the plot of it. And the closer you look at the plot, the less sense it makes. For instance, if you have people living in a particular place, it's not a ghost town. As far as I'm aware, a ghost town is a place where no one actually lives. So the population of the town in the movie seems to be relatively few people. In fact, in the single digits few people. But that's not a ghost town. It's a dying town, to be certain, but it is not a ghost town. And the movie is based upon Tobe Hooper's 1974 movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And in the world of the movie, the crime... Oh, by the way, this is not a true story. It's based very, 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 very loosely on an actual incident. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as depicted in these movies, is not a true story. So, in any case, in the world of the movie, the killer has vanished, and decades have passed, and no one knows where they vanished to. Though there's one woman, a survivor of the original 1974 movie, who has been looking for this killer to kill him. And this is where the movie sounds very similar to the rebooted Halloween. And if only it had kept that course, it probably would have been a really good movie. Conversely, the woman seeking vengeance comes in, I want to say, about midway, and the plot is divided between these people, the internet famous people, are seeking to rebuild this ghost town and Leatherface. As I said, this is not a great movie if you look for logic. For instance, Leatherface doesn't move particularly well. In fact, he moves with a limp, except when he doesn't need to move with a limp. In which case, he's like the Flash. He literally dodges shotgun bursts, which is so silly. In fact, the entire premise of the killer in this movie is stupid. He does things he shouldn't be able to do. He survives wounds that should kill him. It doesn't make any sense. But, now here's the but, and it's a huge honking ass. It depends on how you look at this movie. This movie is, visually speaking, a throwback to 80s slasher movies, like Friday the 13th, like the original Halloween. And it's very gory, and the gore seems mainly practical, which works really well. And this movie is enjoyable as fuck to watch. It's really interesting. It's also, as I said, not a very good movie, but you don't see a lot of movies like it. And for that reason, I really liked it. It had a lot of shortcomings, as I mentioned already, in terms of its story. Its story doesn't make a lot of sense. But tell me, who out there watches slasher movies, at least initially, because the story made sense? And speaking of that, the original Friday the 13th doesn't get a lot of credit for its story, which is actually kind of plausible, really. If you recall that movie, a woman, because her son was allowed to drown because campers were busy fucking, decides to go on a spree, a killing spree, and murder them. It makes sense. It's not War and Peace, but it's a logical story, and again, it's oddly plausible. In the case of the latest version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the story is nonsense. It's not very well written, and even scenes that are funny are kind of stupid. For instance, you've probably seen a scene where Leatherface goes aboard the party bus and people are, quote unquote, canceling him.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
That's a very modern thing. And I can see why the writers of this movie were trying to mine it for humor. But at the same time, it's stupid. Why is it stupid? Because most people, when confronted with someone wielding a chainsaw, aren't going to sit there with their cell phones taking pictures. And sure, some people will. I don't deny that for a second. But most people will not. Why? Because I don't care what age you grew up in. It's a chainsaw, and most people aren't stupid. So therefore, they're going to do their best to get away. In this movie, that does not happen. So these people are essentially lambs to the slaughter. And it's some tone-deaf social commentary thrown in. It could have been done. I just wish it were done better. In any case, as I said, this movie is not very good. Though, as I said, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not a very good movie, though it is damn enjoyable. And it's an interesting throwback to horror when it was gory and gratuitous and kind of pointless, but enjoyable. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or follow.